Ned Stark and Boromir are the same. And not just because they're played by the same actor and look identical. As easy as it is to walk away from Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings with the impression that Ned Stark is honorable and Boromir
It should be mine! Give it to me! No!
Isn't, that simply isn't true. Their books reveal that the characters are incredibly similar, to the extent that their motivations are exactly the same. We need to clear up the two biggest misconceptions about the characters. The first being that Boromir is morally weak. Tolkien depicts Boromir as one of the greatest living men in Middle-earth. Arguably the greatest after a Númenórean super soldier who honestly shouldn't count. Boromir carries an immense burden.
My father is a noble man. He looks to me to make things right, and I would do it. I would see the glory of Gondor restored.
To say that Boromir is noble and courageous is an understatement. When the Balrog attacks the Fellowship in Moria, Boromir, quote, raised his horn and blew. Loud the challenge rang and bellowed. For a moment the orcs quailed and the fiery shadow halted. Gondor, cried Boromir and leapt. Boromir is deeply honorable. Even his greatest mistake was a misguided ends justify the means attempt to protect the home he loves.
For Gondor! For Gondor! For Gondor!
But Boromir isn't the only character who believes that good enough ends can justify questionable means.
And winter is coming.
The same way Boromir can be misunderstood as a cartoonish anti-hero, Ned Stark is often misconstrued as little more than a naive Boy Scout, whose rigid sense of morality causes the deaths of himself and countless others. But Ned has a much more complex code of ethics than people give him credit for. Given the right cause, Ned is perfectly willing to swallow what the book describes as the bitter taste of deceit. Ned's devotion to the spirit, not letter of the law, causes him to change Robert Baratheon's will on the king's deathbed and lie to the Seven Kingdoms about Jon Snow's identity, which tarnishes both his reputation and his relationship with his wife. Ned even crosses lines he initially rejects. After refusing to, quote, make my word as hollow as an empty suit of armor, Ned gives in to Cersei's demands that he lie and say,
I come before you to confess my treason. I betrayed the faith of my king. I plotted to murder his son and seize the throne for myself.
And it's easy to say that Ned's deceit was guided by good intentions, but as we'll see going forward, the same can be said of Boromir. But the scope of Ned Stark and Boromir's similarities isn't just that they're both three-dimensional, honorable men. It extends to the thing they both value above everything else. What Boromir describes as
Our people.
Boromir's people is his nation of Gondor.
Never again will the land of my people fall into enemy hands!
And while Ned deeply cares about the North, the people he sees as being most immediately at risk is his own nuclear family. It's ironic that where the characters themselves are so similar, their external circumstances are so different. It's this contrast that explains why people often misconstrue Ned and Boromir. It's Boromir's circumstances that make him the prominent, morally gray character in The Lord of the Rings. Unlike these wizards and elves who view the ring through a black and white lens of morality, Boromir doesn't see himself or his people as having that luxury.
It's long since we had any hope.
His country of Gondor is the front line protecting the rest of Middle-earth from Sauron's armies.
By the blood of our people are your lands kept safe.
So when the council decides to send the ring on what Boromir truly believes to be a hopeless quest that will send the ring back to Sauron, it's easy to empathize with his frustration that they should instead
Give Gondor the weapon of the enemy. Let us use it against him.
To a warrior like Boromir, weapons are meant to be wielded. This military philosophy has kept his people alive, which makes it so tragic that it is how the ring ensnares Boromir. The most insidious thing about the ring is how it hijacks a person's best qualities and corrupts them to its own purposes. The wisest people, like Gandalf, understand that even their good motives are corruptible.
I would use this ring from a desire to do good, but through me, it would wield a power too great and terrible to imagine.
But it's not as though Boromir is blind to his own weaknesses.
Yes, there is weakness, there is frailty, but there is courage also, and honor to be found in men.
He simply has never encountered a threat that can turn his own courage against him. But where Boromir's desperate circumstances require him to do what he feels is necessary to save his people, Ned Stark has lived most of his life under very different circumstances. Circumstances that have allowed him to keep a strict code of ethics until the moment King Robert asks Ned to become his hand.
I need you, Ned. Down at King's Landing, not up here where you're no damn use to anybody. We were meant to rule together.
Unlike the stark morality of Winterfell, King's Landing is filled with what Robert describes as fools and flatterers, and Ned describes as snakes. Actor Sean Bean describes how this leads to problems.
He was a good man and he was getting in the way of things. He wouldn't join in this little nest of vipers that he'd become embroiled with.
The reason Ned is the morally pure voice at Robert's council and Boromir is the morally gray voice at Elrond's council isn't because of their own moral differences. It's because of the moral differences between the people surrounding them. Gandalf versus Littlefinger, Aragorn versus Cersei Lannister. When Ned is thrust into as desperate of circumstances as Boromir, he's proven he won't let a simple conception of morality get in the way of what he values most. Ned will justify questionable means if it leads to the safety of his people. And if that means was a ring, he'd probably take it, realize his mistake, and then redeem himself in a way that looks something like...
Forgive me. I have failed you all. I swear to you, I will not let our people fail. People. Our people.
Thanks for watching, and thanks to Student Drake for suggesting this topic. This was the first request I've ever taken, but I'd like to do more. So consider subscribing and let me know what you'd like to see next.